So it's been a few days since I actually hit 1,000 subscribers, and I already made a community post on YouTube as well as a Twitter post thanking you all for the amazing love and support I've been getting for the last 8 or whatever so months that I started this channel. So I don't really want to spend the majority of this video talking about how thankful I am. Instead, I'm just gonna say this has been a great journey so far, and I cannot wait to see where I end up next year and the years after that. As you can see, this is the 1K special, and for the 1K special, ever since I had the idea that I could possibly have 1,000 people watching me, I came up with this idea, and it is the most revolutionary idea you're going to see on YouTube. You ready for this? My top 10 anime and manga of all time. Bet you weren't expecting that, huh? These 10 series are the 10 that I consider to be my favorites, the best that I've ever seen in terms of writing, character, story, whatever you want to think of it as. Overall, it's just my favorite series of all time. 10 being the least out of the 10, and 1 of course being my favorite manga or anime series of all time. This list is very close. At a lot of points, the list is very tight. So if you see your favorite anime or manga at number 10 and something you consider to be way below it at like number 4, just know that they're not that far apart. They're just in different placings, and they could very easily be right beside each other if I'm just going to talk about them side by side. So don't take this too personally. It's my opinion, and I don't really care what you think because it's my opinion. As if this intro isn't long enough, I'm going to mention a few series that I think could very well be on this list had I actually caught up to them or had I even checked them out at first. Firstly, I want to say JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I've been trying to get into JoJo's, and I actually have gotten to JoJo's. I finished the first part, and I'm a bit into the second part, but I feel like if I get to at least part 7, because that's where everyone says things get crazy, I feel like if I get to part 7, it could very well be on this top 10 list. Another one is 20th Century Boys. I heard it's like Monster except better, and that's just like crazy to me because Monster, in my opinion, is like an amazing thriller and mystery story. Gintama, I've heard, is a very hit or miss show for a lot of people. A lot of people love it and a lot of people hate it, but if I turn out to be one of the people that like it, it very well could end up on this top 10 list. And I know how Gintama fans can act if you don't put it on your top 10 list, so I'm just saying I've never seen a single episode or chapter of Gintama. So alright, I've spoken enough. It's time to actually get into my number 10 series. So number 10, starting off, is going to be a classic, Hunter x Hunter by Yoshihiro Togashi. So yes, if you do watch a lot of these top 10 videos, you probably see Hunter x Hunter on it pretty often, and that's for a good reason. Like, it's just a very solid shonen series. It's a very good series, and I really personally enjoyed watching the anime myself. I have caught up to the manga after where the anime ends, and I gotta say that seeing Kurapika being the main character is like the best part for me, because he's my favorite character, and seeing him be the protagonist for once is actually amazing. So I really did enjoy the manga part, and that's kind of what bumped it into the 10th placing. The anime though is also very, very solid. The animation is great, the soundtrack is phenomenal, and the antagonists like Hisoka and Miruem especially are some very, very good antagonists. Gon is a great MC towards the end of the Chimera Ant arc. Killua, very enjoyable character, and as I mentioned before, Kurapika is probably my favorite character in Hunter x Hunter. Definitely my favorite character in Hunter x Hunter. There's just something about him, and there's just a lot to his character. I really enjoyed seeing him grow and change. But at number 10, I have Hunter x Hunter. My number 9 is Vinland Saga by Makoto Yukimura. Now, Vinland Saga, I could quite honestly say it's like a top 3 series for me, but it's just the other things on this list are better, except Vinland Saga is like close to flawless, so I can't really put it any higher because the other things are just better. It's one of those series. The idea of Vinland Saga is amazing. The warrior who does not need a sword is a lesson that hit me very hard, you know? It's about self-improvement, and ironically it's kind of the opposite of what the main character is, because Thorfinn at the beginning of the story is like very, very incomplete as a person, very just violent as a person. And after certain events in the story, he starts to learn what it's truly like to be strong, and how a warrior does not really need a sword. He just needs to be a kinder person, and that's what ends up being his goal. Thorfinn is like one of the best main characters, probably my 3rd or 4th favorite main character ever. His development was just incredible. And then there's Askeladd, who's like one of my favorite antagonists ever. Like, Vinland Saga has so many incredible characters, especially those two, that really carry the series for me, and the story is just amazing. Vinland Saga is a masterpiece, and it's also my number 9 spot. Number 8 is Monster by Naoki Urasawa. Monster, I mentioned at the beginning of the video how it's very mysterious and it's a thriller. I gotta say, Monster for me is like one of those series that just does everything perfectly. Like, I couldn't point out a bad thing about Monster. I feel like it just does everything it wants to do, and it does it perfectly. So how could I say it's not deserving of a top 10 spot? Monster is an excellent mystery story. If you like Death Note, you need to read Monster, because Monster is like the complete Death Note. Obviously, I gotta talk about Johan, because if you talk about Monster, you're gonna talk about Johan. He's like, quite honestly, one of the best antagonists I've ever seen. That term can be used for a lot of different antagonists, but Johan is like, no, like solidified top 2. Like, he is some other breed of antagonist. It's him and Griffith who stand at the top, and I think he's just like a little under Griffith, because you know, it's Griffith. But Johan is like an absolutely top tier antagonist and a top tier character. And for me, he kind of runs the story of Monster. Grimmer is an excellent side character. The protagonist, Dr. Tenma, I really enjoyed him as well. So of course, Monster does have other great characters. It's just Johan is an absolute menace. At number 8, I have Monster. Number 7 is the classic, the OG, One Piece by Ichiro Oda. Some of you may expected this to be a bit higher on the list, and some of you may have expected it to be a bit lower on the list, but it's One Piece. And I do gotta say, the anime is very slow, but if you do pick it up through the manga, it's an absolutely amazing shonen series, and it's an incredible adventure with so many great characters, so many great antagonists, and the story of One Piece is one of the best you will ever see. The world building is, of course, One Piece's most strongest point, and it's probably the best world building I've ever seen. Nah, it's actually like the best world building I've ever seen, and I'm not even joking about it. It's pretty much at the top of world building. One Piece is just an incredibly vast and complex story, and if you're into that kind of stuff with a lot of enjoyable characters, One Piece is going to be the series for you. And it certainly was a series for me, because I absolutely enjoyed One Piece from beginning to where it is right now in the manga. At number 7, I have One Piece. My number 6 is Hajime no Ippo by George Morikawa. This is a series I don't think a lot of people have actually picked up, because of how ridiculously long it is. Like, you thought One Piece was long, right? Well, this is like a good 300 chapters longer, and it's still ongoing. But there's a reason why it's number 6 on the list, and that's because it takes the idea of a sports manga and executes it better than any sports manga I've seen. That doesn't mean it's the best sports manga, as you'll see later down the line of this list, but I'm saying it takes the idea of what a sports manga is and it does it the best out of any sports manga I've ever seen. Hajime no Ippo is about boxing, and I'm not a fan of boxing myself. Like, I don't watch boxing, but Hajime no Ippo is like an amazing series. You don't need to love the sport to love the series. That's how you know you found a great sports manga. And in all honesty, Hajime no Ippo is incredible. It has some of the best characters I've ever seen, some of the strongest side characters, and of course some incredibly emotional moments in every way, whether it be anger, excitement, sadness. It just takes you for an absolute ride in these 1300 chapters, and I highly recommend, if you do have the time for it, that you check out Hajime no Ippo. It might be slow at first, but I guarantee it will pay off in the end. This series is an absolute masterpiece. So now we're getting into the top 5, and at number 5 is a series I just recently finished reading. That is Real by Takehiko Inoue. You're gonna hear that name one more time as we get closer to the end of this list, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but let's talk about Real for a second. Real is just the best sports manga I've ever seen. It's just an amazing story. Like, the way Inoue writes the stories are so original, and the lessons he's able to teach through his characters are just so breathtaking. It's just so amazing. I can't even express it in words how great of an author Inoue is. I did make a video on it just recently, so if you want to know more about Real, go check that video out. But at number 5, I have Real. My number 4 is going to be a controversial one, but I don't care because it's my list. Number 4 is Attack on Titan by Hajime Isayama. Attack on Titan is like if I was to say what show or what series out of this bunch I enjoyed the most, it'd have to be Attack on Titan. If I could binge any series, it'd probably be Attack on Titan. And that's just going to say how amazing of a story Attack on Titan is. The instant you lay your eyes on the first panel or the first frame of the anime, immediately you're caught into the story. Immediately it drags you into the story and throws you into this like roller coaster of mysteries, plot twists, fights, like literally everything you could ask for. The music in the anime is like some of the best composing I've ever seen, some of the best music I've ever seen made, and that's not an exaggeration. Like, the music is genuinely incredible in the anime. There's a reason why it's always in the talk for the greatest anime of all time, even with its ending in the manga. Even with that ending in the manga, Attack on Titan for me still holds a special place in my heart. That is why it's number 4 on the list. The top 3, we are finally here. At number 3, I have Kingdom by Yasuhisa Hara. So, you like war, right? You like fighting? You like seinen? You like gore? Kingdom. That's all I gotta say. Just read Kingdom. Kingdom makes some of the best fight scenes, some of the most incredible characters that I've ever seen. And the story, while it does follow historical evidence, I still think the story that Haro is able to build from these historical facts is amazing. The reason Kingdom is so high on this list is because not only does it have some of the most incredible characters I've ever seen, but it also teaches you a lot about just life in general, as it is a war manga and it kind of tackles life and like slavery and dark themes like that. And that's kind of what makes it so special. I really like series that are able to demonstrate a theme to the reader. Kingdom's one of those series, and you're gonna notice that a lot of the things that are higher up on this list are series like that. I just love everything about Kingdom. There's a reason I went through all 700 or so chapters of it pretty quickly. It's just an absolute masterpiece of a series, hence it's number 3. Number 2 and number 1 could honestly go back and forth, but you probably know what number 2 and number 1 are, as I've talked about them many times on my channel, and I just can't help but express how life-changing these series were for me. At number 2, I have Vagabond by Takahiko Inoue, the same author as Real and Slam Dunk. Vagabond is just like, dude, if you want a series that will change your life, immediately change your life and change your view on like everything, read Vagabond. I have nothing else to say except for that for Vagabond. I don't want to say anything about it besides the fact that it will literally change your life. Vagabond is just life-changing. You have to read it. But at number 2, I do have Vagabond. Now, number 1, you know what it is. Number 1 is Berserk by Kentaro Miura, the late great Kentaro Miura. Berserk is just Berserk. Like, I can just pause, end the video right here, it's done. Because if you've read Berserk, you know the idea behind how beautiful this dark fantasy really is. As gory and as dark as it may be, Berserk is able to show so many different things about struggles and mental struggles and stuff like that. Highly recommend. It's my favorite manga of all time. It's my favorite story of all time, for a good reason. Once again, thank you for 1,000 subscribers. Seriously, that's like pretty freaking sick. If you enjoyed, make sure you like the video, and if you are new, make sure you subscribe to the channel, as we are still gonna keep climbing up the ladder and hopefully get to 10k subscribers sometime in the future. But if you enjoyed, I appreciate you coming out here. Take care and peace.